Hi. So, a few things have really kind of come to my notice this week, and it all seems to come together as what the actual war on animals looks like at this point in February 2021. It's around a year now, isn't it, since we started with coronavirus globally? That was a zoonotically transmitted virus, as we all know, from animals to humans. It's caused major economic and life destruction, and around 1 million human animals have died so far, and the number's just going to go up. That's the first thing. Second thing, just a few days ago in the Russian Federation, 7 farm workers, they call them farm workers, they're obviously working in some hideous conditions, chicken factory farm, were infected with bird flu. This is the one, the H5N8, and that's newly transmitted to human animals. And previous bird flu outbreaks have been bad. And we've only been saved because it's not been very transmissible. So that's the second thing that's happened this week. And obviously, just a tiny bit of context that the previous global pandemic, the 1918 global bird flu pandemic, was a bird flu pandemic that came from farmed chickens and then jumped the species barrier and killed 50 million humans, apparently. The third thing that happened this week, and it really kind of, this one just seemed to coalesce the whole war on animals thing. It was the mayor of Lyon has removed meat from school menus to help with social distancing. Basically, the mayor has reckoned that if you just produce plant-based meals, it's easier to social distance in the food prep areas, which would seem, quite reasonable. But since we're living in a war zone, the war against all other animals, does it seem reasonable to the majority of people who just don't want to acknowledge their own speciesism? So I went into the comments of this report, which this was on RT Russia Today, and the title of the report was Meat-Headed Move, Oh, Restrictions on Freedoms. So you kind of get the sense of where they're coming from. Kind of, it ain't subtle, is it? It's just not subtle. But it's kind of, it's all part of the war on animals. And so, gazing through the comments, and I'm sure you can imagine what they were like, um, there were a few vegan people standing up for the animals, but there was a few, 5 basic categories I noticed proposing or supporting the war against other animals. And the first category was the dietary diversity slash freedom trope. So that was, they'd sort of like interviewed a few people from perhaps more marginalised communities or economically challenged communities, and they were saying, well, it's only our only chance to sort of, the kids' only chance to eat meat, if they're at school. Not looking at the issue of what right do we have to eat other animals' bodies or anything like that. It was framed. So again, the framing of that in the media report was very much like, the sort of middle class, wealthy people are actually disadvantaging the poor, hungry children and stopping them from eating proper food, i.e., dead bodies. That was one trope that came up. Then there was another one, which was the innocent farmers, because this was all triggered by the farmers in response to this, obviously kicked off, as they always do, apparently, and particularly in France, and sort of like dragged a whole pile of sort of unfortunate cattle, cow animals, cow people, goat people, were dragged into the centre of, I'm not sure if it was Paris or elsewhere, loads of manure dumped, loads of tyres, the whole sort of rigmarole of we are the sun, the earthy workers, we are the good people, all we're trying to do is earn a decent living, and these effete propagandizing city types are trying to take our livelihoods and your decent food away. This is the face of the war on other animals. And again, the media was just churning it out, lapping it all up. And the interesting thing, which was that's not necessarily surprising, but another trope, another theme that was coming in the comments was this: you're impinging on our freedom with your vegan or vegetarian. A lot of people conflated the two. You are impinging, you effete city vegan types are all weak. These also came out in the comments. And it's your propaganda. I've noticed a lot more fake meat products. Supermarkets are pushing fake meat products. So they can notice the propaganda when it goes against their dominant cultural propaganda, but when they're in the soup of the dominant culture, they think it's just normal. Of course, that is the function of propaganda. And this is this is the war against other animals. This is what we're up against. Once you can see it, you can see it. But this is what we need to bring to the propagandized people who are involved in the war on other animals. So, this is, not eating animal body parts is like a lack of freedom, it's tyranny, it's Bill Gates. And then there was some other thing which I've noticed happens again in these sort of discussions, is that suddenly people are banging on about eating mealworms and cockroaches next. With obviously there's a sort of like implied disgust there. And you think, well, that's interesting. You're sort of disgusted by the concept of eating cockroaches and mealworms, but you're not disgusted by the concept of eating the dismembered body parts of a sentient being that fought for their life and died screaming. Okay. So that's, this whole sort of disgust thing, obviously there's the plants have feelings, sing as well, too tedious to go into. But I also found it kind of quite interesting that you've got this whole notion of if you can't have animal body parts, you've still got to go, as it were, down the food chain and consume insect body parts rather than just hop on board your chickpeas and your lentils and have a happy life. And unless you're one of these people that said, as I said, the plants have feelings. So unfortunately, I got involved in replying to that comment because I just got so annoyed and I wasted a bit of time on that. But sometimes you just have to, you have to challenge the war against other animals. So I just thought I had to say something, because this is in the context of this global pandemic, as I said, which is happening now, which has been happening now for around a year. It's almost like I thought at the beginning of that everything was going to change, or quite a lot would change, and that sort of like vegans would be like, yeah, for all the animals, let's make some serious inroads here, and see with our campaigning, and maybe the government would address some of the use of other animals as well. Well, none of that's happened. There's not been a peep out of that. And Mick the Vegan addresses all of that really well in his latest video, which kind of also triggered me to do this one. So, you're in the middle of a global pandemic. There's just been another outbreak, a chicken to human transmission of avian flu. We don't know where that's going. They're saying that the workers have recovered. Well, hey ho, at the beginning of COVID, was it seen as so sort of like awful? No. But why is nobody, I've looked at loads of other channels, channels from India, channels from Russia, and they're all basically saying, oh, is it safe to eat chicken meat? Is it safe to eat eggs? Oh, yes, if you cook them to 100 degrees or whatever. And you're just like, you just think, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? It's not me, it's the war against other animals. It's just infuriating. So let's address the root problem as vegans. We've got a lot of time to watch people doing vegan shopping, people doing vegan cooking, vegans having a bit of a pop at other vegans, obviously a very drama filled and, fun activity sometimes, it seems. But could we not take a bit of time to actually start to engage with the war on animals on a personal and collective basis? Isn't that what we need to be doing now? I mean, those of us who have got a bit of extra time, I know not everybody's got extra time because of COVID, but maybe just try and think about that, contacting the media, whoever our media particular outlets are. I'm not saying it's easy. On social media, trying to get outside of the vegan bubble, maybe contacting our own MPs or councillors. I know it sounds like a thankless task. Organising with other vegans, always great. Grassroots organising. I've got 3 videos up, I think more than that, with Ronnie Lee, myself. More will be uploaded as well, talking about grassroots organising, which is fundamentally key to anything. And if you've got a grassroots group and you'd like to talk about how you've organised it and how it's working, or maybe the challenges that are coming out of that grassroots group, love to have you on the channel. I know some people are actually quite shy about coming on board. I've heard about a fantastic group somewhere that has done the posters on the buses, and I'm trying to get the lovely person that organised that to share with their experiences. But they've got a bit of a thing about appearing on video, which is tragic, really, because there's so much that we could all use and we could all learn. I mean, that's the whole thing about this channel. It's about learning from each other. It's about having ideas, expressing ideas, talking about things. I know people are also very keen about things like book clubs. They take a lot of organising as well. But maybe together we can organise a book club. But it would have to be not just me. So that was my thought for today, Poor old Mayor of Lyon, just trying to do their bit for social distancing, pounced on by the proponents of the war on other animals, many of whom will be, otherwise decent people. So there's our job. That's our job, and maybe we'll be finished by Easter. Ha ha ha, maybe not. So, if you'd like this video, please like and subscribe. And the thing that I noticed just recently, and that shows what a crappy YouTuber I am, is that if you don't also tick or hit the notifications bell, you miss out on the notification. Duh, well, that's me being a crappy YouTuber. So the bell is really important, because now then you suddenly find all these interesting videos in your feed, which you would otherwise have missed out on. Anyway, so until the next time, thank you for your time. I hope you stay safe. I hope you have some happiness over the next few days, weeks, whenever, until I see you again. And together, we can end the war on other animals. Yeah, I've just seen your comment, Deb. Yeah, I know. I was going through that feeling. Yeah. Deb says, it makes you wonder if most humans will ever change their self-absorbed, destructive, bad habits before this planet becomes the hellish environment as portrayed in most science fiction movies, books. I must admit, I was very much feeling on that vibe, and that's why I just thought I'm just going to dive in and do a live stream, because sometimes, it just really gets to you, and you just think, for God's sake, are human beings absolutely insane? And of course, we do kind of think that we are insane, because we are very driven by irrationality. But I think the thing is, the challenge is to try and, I don't want to say stay positive, but just stay active, because at the end of the day, we want to end the war on other animals. So that's what I thought, let's have a bit of a chat with you guys. I know you're out there. There'll be others out there who are feeling the same. Try and get a bit of fellow feeling together. And as I said, together we can, it's not just a slogan, together we can end the war on other animals. Well, we can do our level best. Thanks, Deb. Thanks. Thank you, Deb. And people like Deb's just said, people like you give me hope. Thank you. Thank you, Deb, because people like you give me hope. And that's what it's all about. Together, we can actually give each other a bit of hope, a bit of inspiration. Maybe we'll write a letter. Maybe we'll send a text. maybe we'll do some research, maybe we'll read something, maybe we'll reach out to some other person. And that's it, really. That's all that we can do. So thank you, everyone, and have a peaceful, happy, and bell notification tapping week. All the best. You take care. Thanks to everyone.